So welcome everyone to class 6 of the biblical foundation, that is Genesis, the book of beginnings. And we are still in the most incredible creation week. As I like to say, we have a front seat, a front row seat to see exactly how everything was created, everything in our universe, just amazing. So let's review day 4 of creation. So let's start with Genesis 1:14. So Camila, can you please read Genesis 1:14 in English?
And God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years.
Excellent. Every single word you pronounced correctly. You had corrected yourself on signs, but every word was correctly pronounced. Thank you. E disse Deus: haja luminares na expansão dos céus para haver separação entre o dia e a noite, e sejam eles para sinais e para tempos determinados e para dias e anos. Cristiane, can you please read question A in English?
What is the difference from verse 3? And God said, let there be light.
Very good. Now at the end of verse 3, there's a little apostrophe. So it's hard, but you have to say verse 3, verse 3's.
Verse 3's.
3's, very good. Okay, so what do you think? We're reviewing the material from last time. And so I'm referring back to Genesis 1, verse 3, when God said in the first day, and God said, let there be light. So what's the difference between the verse 14 that we just read and verse 3? It's a rather specific difference. Obviously, their contexts are different. The most striking difference is in verse 3, it says, let there be light, singular. And 1:14 is lights. Let there be lights, plural. And so it's theorized. It is theorized. Let me get this into the chat. Oops. Theorized. It is theorized that then back in verse 3, light energy has been activated. We know God did not need to create light. He is light. But he said, let there be light in his creation. And so, but there wasn't a sun, correct? So he's energizing, activating some energy. And now with lights in the firmament of the heaven, it sounds like suns and stars have been started up. And that even more incredibly, you could say a planetary nuclear reaction has just started. Okay, so the stars and the sun, they've been boom, created as lights, and now they're sending off light. So let's go now to question B. Emily, can you please read question B in English?
What is the difference from verse 4? And God divided the light from the darkness.
Okay. So back in verse 4, God divided the light from the darkness. And then here we have, he divides the day from the night. What do you think? Is the context different? A hint. Okay.
I think here it talks about the sun and the moon and
Yep.
the Earth's rotation. And in verse 3, was it Genesis 1:3?
Yeah.
I think it talks about light and darkness in more general sense.
Absolutely right. Okay, so the same way that verse 3 seems to activate light energy generally in the universe, maybe nothing's visible, who knows? Now God divided the light from the darkness generally, and we don't know exactly how it worked. But now we see in verse 14, it's now been brought down to where? To earth. Okay, because if you think of it, do stars in galaxies have day and night?
Maybe.
Maybe, but also like who knows?
Yeah.
It's a so yeah, but we know day and light to be a very earth and our galaxy. We also know there are days and nights on Mars and other places because of the sun. So the context is now much closer. We're getting closer and closer, okay, to our creation. So Camila, can you please read question C in English?
All possible can start communicate signs.
Good. So you remembered signs. The word, when the word is very close to Portuguese, that's when the pronunciation is more difficult. Okay, so they're written almost exactly the same, but the so instead of so I think you said possibly, but it's possibly. And so remembering in English, often the emphasis is closer to the beginning. Okay, whereas in Portuguese, it's usually further down the word. So what do you think? How possibly can stars communicate signs? Because it says, God said, let them be for signs. So it sounds like he's talking about all those stars. How can stars communicate signs?
Through stories.
Absolutely right. Okay, there's a word that is misused today, okay, but astrology means the search of meaning in the sky. Now, today it's all very new age and all wacky stuff. Wacky. Wacky is like strange, weird. That's another good. Weird. It's wacky and weird. Isn't that nice how W starts all these strange words in English? Wacky, weird. Wacko is another. That's more like crazy. Wacko. So it sounds like that the stars were actually put in the sky to tell us a story. So their exact positioning and how they look like, how they create constellations. Okay, so for instance, Gemini. Is a constellation. Oh, I think it's Gemini. Gemini is a constellation. The twins, if I recall. Another is Pisces, which is the fish. Okay, so this constellations have many names today, but they don't really have biblical meaning that we're very aware of. but we believe that they used to. And let's see if the Bible implies something along these lines. So Christiani, can you please read Isaiah 40:26?
Lift up our eyes and hide and below who were created these the things that bringeth or they post by name, by number, he calleth them and all by names, by the greatness of his might, for he is strong in power, not one faithful.
Faileth, beautiful, beautifully pronounced. Thank you very much. And with a lot of different words, and remembering King James has a different conjugation system. So faileth is something that we conjugation, okay, is not something that you see in contemporary English. Or sorry, that's wrong. Faileth. Okay, today it's just fail. So King James is more poetic, and it has some words which which you probably have never seen before reading the King James. They're very good. Let me see if I can do that justice in Portuguese. Levantei ao alto os vossos olhos e vede quem criou estas coisas. Foi aquele que faz sair o exército delas segundo o seu número. Ele as chama a todos pelos seus nomes, por causa da grandeza das suas forças. E porquanto é forte em poder, nenhuma delas faltará.
I think maybe levantai.
Levantai, thank you. Oh, good. Okay, good. Right at the beginning. And Christiani, if sometimes Emily gives me a Gausha pronunciation, okay? And I know, so maybe Camila will too. So if you hear something that doesn't sound Mineira or Mineiro, okay? Let me know, all right? And Emily usually catches herself. She says in Sao Paulo, they say it this way, and here, she's like a linguistic expert. But I'm gonna depend on you, Cristiani, to say, well, that's not how we pronounce it here in Minas. So I think it's the same everywhere now. Thank you. Okay, so let's go now. Emily, can you please read question D in English?
What is the significance of Isaiah's verse?
Okay, so why did I just include that? We're talking about stars, signs. What do we learn from Isaiah's verse that's a kind of interesting or incredible?
That all these signs point to Christ and to God, who created everything.
Okay, so by the greatness of his might. So Isaiah is saying, lift up your eyes on high. So he's talking about the creation. So it's like creation as a sign of God. But back to the idea of the stars and what we just learned from Isaiah's verse, that's a little different. Because we learn in some other verses about creation as a sign of God.
Okay.
But what does it say in the second part of the verse? He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might. Okay, so God has named every single star for a reason. Okay, luckily he knows the number of hairs, but he doesn't give them each a name. Okay, so I'm like, so he might know that I have, I don't know what the number is, 10,000 or whatever hairs, but he doesn't name them. But there's trillions of stars, we believe, and he's named every one. I mean, that's incredible. Okay, trillions of stars. So there was a purpose. And when we get to heaven, I suspect we will understand better why he named every single star. So thank you. Camila, can you please read question E in English?
What was the main purpose for creating star suns?
Very good. So main, I think you said mean. So the A is so it's, and then followed by an I, it's more like an open A. So main. It would be, there's no, well, actually there is a word. The speaking of hair, a lion's hair is called a mane that I just put in the chat. Okay, so this mane is pronounced the exact same way, but you have to know that this is mane as in primary. Okay, so English has a lot of words that are the same word orally, and you have to understand by context which one. Obviously, when it's written, it's a little easier. So what was the main purpose for creating star suns? And this is looking back at verse 14. So why did he do it? What did let them be for signs? But what's, you know, but that's kind of confused now. We don't know exactly which signs God intended or stories. We have like a vague idea. But what's very clear about why he created stars and suns from verse 14?
Or to give light.
Okay, and then why did he give us light? The end of the verse gives the answer.
For days and years.
Exactly, for seasons and for days and years. So
Okay.
it's a time clock. He gave us a time clock for humanity. Okay, so we could measure the passage of time, not just days, but also years, and seasons are something special, because if the earth was perfectly on its axis, there would be no seasons. But it's because we are off axis that we have winter and summer. Okay, because as we're going around the sun, because our axis is like this, it varies. So we have less sun. Right now, the northern hemisphere is at its second darkest day of the year. And by the way, in my view, what happened in the darkest day of the year of the greatest importance in history? It's just born or
Conceive. Sorry.
Incarnated.
Oh yes, incarnated.
Okay. So we'll. I should have included this subject for tonight, but the subject of when was Christ born? It's more likely back in September, I believe. Luke makes it impossible that Jesus was born in December, because he says there were sheep grazing at night. And in Israel in December, there's no sheep outdoors and there's no grass for grazing.
What is grazing?
Okay, grazing. Grazing is what animals do when eating grass. So they graze, they graze the grass. They go here, they go there, they eat the grass.
Okay.
Okay, so the darkest day of the year is perhaps when light, the hope of all humanity, arrived and God was made manifest on earth. So in the darkest day of the year, the light arrived in the incarnation. So that was the real miracle. The miracle is not a birth because, hey, the births just went normally. The gestation went normally, and then Jesus was born. Great. It's cause for celebration, but that wasn't a miracle. The miracle was the incarnation. So let's continue on. And so that was, we switched order a little bit. So I think it was Camila. So Emily, can you, well, actually, now the order has changed. Christiani, can you please read Genesis 1:15, please? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
No problem.
And they left them before light in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
Okay. Earth. It's a little hard that it's earth instead of ear. So it's so yeah, it says it's there's not a similar word. Yeah. To earn is like to gain money, to earn praise. And so the EAR is the same as the EAR in earth. So it's, or ear. Well, ear is a little different. So anyway, English is irregular, but thank you. Ok, e sejam para luminares na expansão dos céus para iluminar a terra. E assim foi. Okay, so let's see. So now, Emily, can you please read question F in English?
What purpose does the verse now make explicit?
Okay, so what do you think? So we just read that in 1:15, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. So what was the made explicit, right? You know what the opposite of explicit is? Implicit, implied. But this is explicit or explained. So explained clearly. So, well, go for it, Emily.
To give light?
Yes, to light the earth specifically, because there was lights out, you know, maybe in the universe, but now it was to light the earth. Thank God. So I'll tell you, I would not like to be blind or to have 24-hour nights. So to light the earth is a huge blessing. So Camila, can you read Genesis 1:16, please? You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the star also.
Very good. The verb to rule, you're giving it a little bit of a Brazilian accent when you rule, right? It's a silent E. So when the E is by itself hanging at the end after a consonant, it is almost always silent. And it's an indication that it's not roll, which would be a closed U, but that it's rule, an open U. So the silent E is to help us guide us, but it's not pronounced. And, and a 116. E fez Deus os dois grandes luminares, e o luminar maior para governar o dia, e o luminar menor para governar a noite, e fez as estrelas. Okay, G, where are we? So, Cristiani, can you please read question G in English?
Which are the two great lights?
Okay, what do you think? And I'm not saying, you know, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is a great light, but, but we're kind of early for that. This is so what are the two great lights?
The sun and the moon.
Sun,
Does the sun?
Okay, I think you all, okay, so, okay, and then Camila gave it a second. So sun and moon, right on. Okay, and I'll tell you, some skeptics say, oh, the moon isn't a source of light, you know, the science of the Bible. Okay, but everyone understands the sun is you know, a source of light, and the moon at night is a source of light because of reflected light. And it's clear, but some people say, oh, so, sorry, Emily.
I remember this verse, Marcos Everlin, who is that chemist, the president of intelligent design here in Brazil, he tells that this verse, it's a proof that there is true science in the Bible, because in ancient times, they didn't know that the moon was smaller than the sun. So, because apparently, I don't remember the name, but it has an astronomical name to it. When you see the circumference of the sun and the moon in the sky, they look the same size. But
It's
here
true.
it says that one it's bigger than the other.
Okay,
And
you're gonna have to repeat what you just said to Camila in Portuguese after the class.
okay. Okay, sorry.
Okay, but I'll confirm just what you said. Just think of the, okay, of the eclipse of the sun. The moon perfectly covers the sun. Perfectly. The same size. It looks exactly the same size.
Yeah.
Okay, so the same diameter, I don't know, you know.
It has a name, I don't remember. I have
Yeah.
to see it later.
Okay, but it's true. It's a great point. Thank you. Okay, so let's, Emily, continue please with Genesis 1:17 to 19 in English, please.
And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Thank you, very nicely pronounced. E Deus os pôs na expansão dos céus, para iluminar a terra, e para governar o dia e a noite, e para fazer separação entre a luz e as trevas. E viu Deus que era bom. E foi a tarde e a manhã, o dia quarto. Okay, so we're finishing up the review. Camila, can you please read question H in English?
Efficient life was great on the third day, and the sun only on the fourth day. Is the day-age theory even possible?
Beautiful pronunciation. Excellent, good job. And you improved that you said theory and then you improved it to theory. So it was very good. And that's a subtle difference. So what do you think? Okay, so who's our theistic?
No.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Sorry. Igualmente.
Ah, fantastic. So welcome. We are just finishing the review of last week's material and about to begin the new fun stuff. So,
Okay.
but let's answer the question each, which is if plant life was created on the third day and the sun only on the fourth day, is the day-age theory even possible? Who's our theistic evolutionist expert?
No way, Jose.
So are you that you are our theistic evolutionist expert, Emily? So what's wrong? What's wrong with the day-age theory per logic?
It's not possible. The plants need life, need light, and to survive to do.
Yeah, yeah. And so if a day was a billion years instead of one day, you can't create plants and then wait a billion years and they have to wait patiently for a billion years until the first light comes. So it's a silly theory by silly people. Okay, so let's go now. Let's continue in Creation Week. And so, Monica, can you please read Genesis 1:20 in English, please? Genesis 1:20.
Okay. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that had life and fall, that might fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven.
Very good. In the top line, it's a matter of emphasis. It's abundantly.
Abundantly.
So I think you gave it a little more of the abundantly, which would be
Okay.
Portuguese pronunciation. So the emphasis is further up. And the fowl that may fly. So so an AY is definitely an open A. And you might have said my, more like my fly. So very good. So let me try that in Portuguese. E disse Deus, produzam as águas abundantemente,
Yeah.
répteis de alma vivente e voam as aves sobre a face da expansão dos céus. So
Happy.
say that again, Emily.
Hapdays. It's a hard word.
Where is that one? Hapdays. Let me see.
Hapdays. It's the reptiles.
Ah, thank you. Okay.
Fica-
Hapdays.
Hapdays. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like A instead of E. Instead of heptays, it's
Hapdays. Hapdays.
hapdays. Wow.
Yes.
Hapdays. I don't like them. Hapdays. They're hard to pronounce. Okay, so there we go. So now let's move on. That was Monica. So Camila, can you please read question 1 in English?
What is the moving creature that have life?
Very good. So moving creature
Moving
that has life.
creature.
Very nice. That was good. Very good. So what do you think? What is the, I'm quoting the verse, what is the moving creature that hath life? What kind of creature is it? Now, if it says, let the waters bring forth abundantly,
Fish.
Say it again.
Fish.
Absolutely right, Camila. Okay. Okay, wonderful. And you knew the word in English too. Congratulations. Okay, so let's go now to Cristiani. Can you read question 2 in English, please?
Is this the first use of the word life?
Yeah, okay, what do you think? Is it the first word, the first use of the word life? Remember, the first, it's called the law of the first mention. Okay, it's a biblical standard, a biblical law. When a word is first mentioned, it's very important. It's usually, it helps us understand that word for the rest of the Bible. But first, is this the first time that the word life is used in the Bible? Okay, we only have 19 verses before this, so we don't have to look very long. I don't think I see the word life. All right, maybe I'm wrong. Is it let there be light? So no, so God did not say let there be life until now. All right, so I think that's the case. And so why? Okay, no, sorry, question 3. Monica, can you please read question 3?
How or why is that significant?
Very good. Okay. All right. So remember these, I love tough questions. It's not an easy Bible course. It's not easy because it's in a strange language called English. And it's not easy because I love tough questions to make us think, or at least make me think. Okay, so why is it significant? If this is the first use of the word of life in the Bible, why only now? I mean,
Maybe just say that only animals have life, not plants.
absolutely right. Bingo. Okay. So do you remember our curveball question? Okay, from prior times about, do plants die?
Oh no.
Well, okay, but yes, Emily already knows what I'm getting at, but we know that plants grow. And if there was a plant cycle, right, that the seed has to die to create another plant, then yes, plants died before original sin. But now this verse is implying that the moving creature that hath life, it's something different. And so what do you think is the main difference between the life? Because we would tend to say a plant has life and a fish has life. But what's the main difference in the kind of life that a plant has and a fish or an animal has? What's the big difference? Or are they all the same?
A plant is only cells multiplying, and an animal has a spirit.
Okay, well, a spirit,
Or
well, where you're getting is very good. An easier way to think of it, because there's a controversy of body, soul, and spirit. Okay, we're a trinity, body, soul, and spirit. And perhaps the spirit is the one that's only in humans, all right, that differentiates us from animals. Okay, but it's not a clear subject, but the Bible does clearly say that things have both a soul and a spirit. Okay, and sometimes it uses them almost as synonyms, but there's a more special one. The spirit one is, and think of it, Holy Spirit. So we have the Holy Spirit. So spirit is a little different. So I prefer to say the difference between plant life and animal life is consciousness. Okay, and that is an animal is awake. It responds. It falls in love. It has emotions. It thinks. It based on what it sees. It changes its action. So it's consciousness. And some would say that then the consciousness is a little closer to the soul, although it's not really the same. But for me, then we have a good, clear difference that plants do not have a consciousness. Okay. And as Emily said, they are like a bunch of DNA that are trying to replicate themselves. So it's like a software program is a plant. Okay, that wants to, its goal is to grow and replicate and apparently die for the seed, and then the cycle continues. But this is now implying that, well, when we say death did not enter before original sin, maybe we are talking about death as in life, animal life, principally. Okay, so yeah, yet another interesting perspective or insight. Okay, on the idea that plants are substantially different. So the Bible seems to say you don't say a plant actually has life. We say that, but no, the Bible says it's animals have life. And if plants don't have life, then they're not technically dying. But if they are, like, you know, if it has to go dark and brown instead of green, and the seed has to go and could be completely dry, we would say that is dying. But maybe the Bible thinks otherwise. So, okay, let's move on. So, Emily, can you please read question 4 in English?
What aspect of heaven is clearly in view?
Okay, because we're still referring to verse 120, and it ends that in the fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. Well, I think Emily said before that the Bible gives us 3 different heavens, right? 3 levels of heaven. So which one is this? Well, if birds are flying in it, it's not where God is. And where there's 0 oxygen and gravity, I don't think they're flying there either. So we're looking at the atmosphere. So what the Bible calls the first heaven. Okay, so Camila, can you please read question 5 in English?
What, if any, motion already occurred in the universe and or on earth?
Very good. The first noun, it's in English, when there's an I after the T, then things get interesting. It actually is like, and so it's motion. So instead of motion, okay, it gets a carioca treatment. Okay, so it's like right. So remember my joke, like in French, club gourmet is clube gourmetchi. So the TE in Brazilian has to be like ch. And in English, the TI in this sense is often sh, like full karaoke. Okay, so motion.
Motion.
Okay, so what do you think? What, if any, motion already occurred in the universe and or on Earth? Huh. Because remember, it just said now, but the moving creature that hath life. And my guess is this is probably the first use of the word move or moving. Was there motion before? Can you think of any in the prior verses? Another tough question.
Plants growing.
Exactly right. Okay, so the grass coming up, we got some motion there. Perfect. One other one. If there's light in day on Earth, what's happening?
Oh, rotation.
Yeah, so it's probably the Earth is probably rotating. But again, this is the first time that the Bible is specifically saying that there was motion. So how interesting.
And when the Spirit of God moved upon.
You're right. Thank you for remembering that. So it's not the first use of the word. Absolutely right. And that's a much better first mention than this one. But it is interesting then where motion is occurring with the introduction of the word life. Okay, so it's back. So God moved, and now there's motion clearly described along with life. So Cristiani, can you please read Genesis 1:21 in English?
And the God created great worlds and every living creatures that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly. Sorry, how do I say?
You said it well, abundantly.
Abundant. After the kind, and ever ringer word after his kind. And the God saw that it was good.
Okay, very good. There's some new words there. The fourth word is whales. And so if you look at that, it's plural. In the singular, it's a silent E. So instead of walls or it's like, so you know the A is open, so it's whale, and then plural whales. And then the other tough one is winged fowl in the second line towards the end, winged fowl. So, okay. And let me try this in Portuguese. E Deus criou as grandes baleias e todo o réptil. 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 De alma vivente que as águas abundantemente produziram conforme as suas espécies, e toda a ave de asas conforme a sua espécie, e viu Deus que era bom. That word abundant is difficult in both, and abundantly is difficult both in English and in Portuguese. All right, so Monica, can you please read question 6 in English?
Okay. How does this verse contradict the evolutionary sequence of species?
Okay, it's a open E in English, so it's species.
Species.
Okay, very good. So what do you think? Now, I don't want you all to be experts on evolution, all right, because it's a big lie. But let's think together. If evolution started in a primordial primordial soup. And it started with a little like tadpole or some little tiny wiggly thing in the water. Eventually, that becomes a fish. And then where do the animals come from, according to evolution? They come from
They
fish.
slowly came to Earth.
What's that?
They slowly came to Earth.
All right, or came up onto Earth.
Earth.
Okay? Because if you say
How you say?
came up onto Earth, because when you
Came
say
up
come to Earth, it could be like coming from the moon.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. But if you want to use the word Earth with fish and how it's like came up onto the Earth.
Okay.
So it's a little complicated, but or came out of the water. So according to evolution, those little fishes, like so like then they come out of the water and they go, oh, and they start breathing air all of a sudden. No problemo. And they become animals. But this just told us that the fish and the birds were created at the same time. Okay, so evolution, wrong. Okay, so verse 21 says fish and birds pretty much came at the same time. Okay, so let's finish up a few more lines. So that was Monica. So Emily, can you please read question 7 in English, please?
Why are animals called creatures and plants are not?
Ah, another tough question.
Because plants do not have life.
And okay, that's a good response. I like it. But I'm going to ask, what in the word creature makes one think, okay, a plant is not a creature. So let's think of the etymology. Etymology. It's a hard one. Etymology? Yeah. Etymology of the word creature. What would be the verb that forms the basis of the word creature?
Creator.
Okay, the verb.
Create.
Yes. Okay, so if the verb to create then became or is associated with the noun creature, then maybe it's because animals or that a creature creates. Hallelujah. Okay, so plants don't create. It's just plants are just software.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice way.
Okay, so and again, just because we're studying the Bible together, then I looked at it and go, hey, creatures create. So that's why you're all creatures. Because you are creative, thank God. Okay, so there you go. So, all right, so Camila, can you please read question 8 in English? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. What do all animals possess that plants don't?
Okay, I already gave you the answer, like a couple of lines of verse. But what do you think? What do all animals have that plants don't? Remember, it's that tough long word. Consciousness. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Just take that N and turn it into a U. Well, the second N, not the third one. Okay, so consciousness. So let's we're running a little late, so let's finish up. Christiani, can you please read Genesis 1:22 in English?
And the God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let follow multiply and the world.
Okay, it's multiply. Okay.
Multiply.
Yeah. So if there was an I at the end, and then it maybe would be multiply. All right, but the multiply. So if it was that word doesn't exist, like multiply. Yeah, so it's multiply. So the Y is almost always, particularly at the end, it's like very strong, multiply, like an open eye. All right, instead of a closed one. Yeah, multiply, perfect.
Multiply.
Okay, so let me try that in Portuguese. E Deus os abençoou, dizendo, frutificai e multiplicai-vos, e enchei as águas nos mares, e as aves se multiplicam na terra. This is getting fun. Things are getting crazy on Earth now. Things are going crazy on Earth. All right, we're watching things and we're like, get out. What's happening? Okay, so Monica, can you please read question 9 in English?
What makes this verse so special?
Many reasons. All right, but what are the best? What are the reasons that the most important reasons why this verse is so special? Super special. What do you think? What happened there are things, you know, that we haven't seen before in the first 21 verses in the Bible. Well, I'm not gonna say it again, Emily.
God bless them.
Yes, it's the first blessing in the Bible. Fantastic. Okay, so and then it's not only the first blessing, but what comes along with the blessing? Well, he's telling the fish and the birds and everyone else to get to work. Okay, and so what he blesses them and immediately tells them, what's the order? After the command of the word to be, what is the order?
Multiply.
Absolutely right. So be fruitful and multiply. So there you go. So the first blessing in the Bible is about what? It's about procreating. Okay, about having babies. So there you go. The first and big and most important blessing in the Bible, and it's going to be repeated later for human beings. But here's its first use, is they're blessed, go forth and marry and have babies. Okay, so wow. And then let's so I love it. Look at that. Wow. Okay, so let's go to Genesis 1:23, and that will be Emily in English.
And the evening and the morning were the 5th day.
Thank you. E foi a tarde e a manhã o dia quinto. And then Camila, you get the last question of the evening, of the day, of day 5, the last question. Bless you.
What was special about day 5?
Okay. So what was like so special about day 5? So let's think back. So we just read all the verses of day 5. So it just worked out that way, but yeah, okay. So you go back to, all right, Genesis 1:14, let there be lights in the firmament, lift up your, all right, all these different fun verses. And God made 2 great lights. Remember, I think I've claimed that there were 2 words now that occurred for the first time in the Bible. I was wrong about movement, and Emily corrected me, because then God said, so he moved things back in the very beginning, but then there are 2 other words that I correctly said are the first time in the Bible. And which ones were they now in day 5? Camila, do you remember? Create. Okay. Create. Okay. I don't know if I said that. Well, but you're absolutely. I think what you're saying is the following. What were the 2 words though that I've said maybe I think the first time? One is life, and the other is blessed. And so what you're saying, Camila, is absolutely right. It's the special on day 5 was life and creating. Okay, and it's not just God, because God was creating before. Right? God was creating the universe in the first verses, but now creatures are creating. Okay, so life has come to earth, and this amazing process of creating, of giving birth, of having children, of propagating is now occurring. Okay, so day 5 is a rockin' day in the creation week. Okay, a rockin' day. And we're getting close to when things really start rocking. And that's when that's a little bit of slang. I'm intentionally pronouncing it like instead of rocking. All right, rocking. Rocking and rolling. So things will really get going when who comes to the stage? Adam. All right, then things will start going crazy also, all right, granted, but so day 5 is a great day in the creation week. So any questions or comments before I stop the recording? So I'm glad everything was perfectly clear. We'll get to some more questions. So thank you all.